This person called Struggle Town said that he is struggling with finding a sense of purpose in life, and she can't really find fulfillment in my work, and outside of that, life feels pretty aimless. I'm scared of the idea of wasting my time, and I don't want to get to the end and feel like I should have done more. I know it's kind of morbid and not good for a light podcast conversation, but I can't stop thinking about it. So KP, what is how do you find fulfillment in what you do?
Well, I guess for myself it's clear, but it's again easier for myself. Let me tell you about what I see my challenge with all my associates. And my big challenges in the hospitality industry, it sounds glamorous from the outside, but from the inside it's pretty tough. It's low compensation, very difficult hours, burnt weekends, and
I've seen the bear. I know how it is.
Yeah, well, it's not much better. And you see the Michelin star, and you see how dressed up they are, but it is very difficult. So my challenge has been always one of what can I do to make my colleagues who are particularly at the front line wake up each morning wanting to go to work. Now, I'm posing this question down the different way now. It's not what I'm going to do. The question now is for the person from Struggle Town, is it?
Struggle Town.
Basically, ask him or her, when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you feel excited about going to work? Really think about it. Do you really want to get up and go to work? Excited doesn't mean necessarily that it's positive. You may be excited because there's so many problems, but you're excited to tackle those problems. Or do you feel pretty blah? If you start feeling pretty blah, then start analyzing seriously. Is it because of your boss? Is it because of your colleagues? And if those are not at all good for you and things don't look like they're going to change, and that seems to be one of the major reasons why you're feeling blah, then you got to change that situation. You got to look for another job. If it's not that, but you are feeling blah because you're stuck in a relationship which is not going anywhere, but you don't have the guts to end it, and that might be the reason that you're feeling this blahness, this feeling, this sense of not going anywhere. My life isn't going anywhere. So you need to, there's no one answer, but I think the point is you do have to sit down and be brutally honest with yourself and ask, what is it that's making my life, not to use a big word, purposeful, but what's making my life so that when I wake up in the morning, I feel blah. That to me is a very tangible way of measuring purposefulness, right? If you feel blah, is it because my relationship isn't going anywhere? Is it because my work isn't going anywhere? And then you have got to change it. Otherwise, again, before you know it, you will have lived a blah life. When people are in a difficult situation about their own lives, like Struggle Town, you need to reach into the deepest reaches of your own soul and ask yourself and be brutally honest, what should I be doing? And I think the answer is there for most people if they are able to be detached and looking at themselves and saying, what is my life all about? And what do I need to do to get back in touch with my real self and live the life that I should be living and the life that I want to live? There's no external answer for that. I just think it is an issue that afflicts a lot of people. And the only answer is you have to be brutally honest with yourself. And the answer is there. That's the thing I keep on emphasizing. The answer is always there already. You just need to find what that answer is for yourself.
Right. You can't be delulu.
Yeah.
Do you know what that? Are you familiar with the term delulu?
No, is it deluded or delulu?
It's
Delusional.
like
Being very deluded, self-deluding, right?
So if you ever have to use the word, the new like
okay.
slang is delulu.
Oh, delulu. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a
It's not
a Singaporean slang, is it? It's a global.
No,
it's
it's
a
like
global.
Oh, delulu.
You
Okay.
can use it at
Fine.
all 22 countries that you have hotels in.
Okay, all right. I'm going to use it. I have a dinner with my two kids, two of my kids today.
Oh, try it.
I'm going to say My God, that's a pretty delulu remark.
Yeah.
You see what they say?
Yeah.
You used it perfectly.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay, cool.
So, and going
Okay.
back a little bit to finding fulfillment. You were saying how when you wake up and feel blah, like how do you feel when you wake up, get ready for work?
Right now, I guess the happy situation I'm in right now is that I feel there isn't time enough in the day to do the things I want to do. I think that's quite a nice feeling.
Yeah.
I don't consider. I think I've navigated the company and myself quite well to the extent that, and I do talk to other family businesses about it. That usually, very often, the patriarch of a family business doesn't want to let go. He thinks he's so important. He micromanages everything and so on, and that really damages the relationship with the next generation. I think to that extent, I honestly think I've been quite successful. I have passed on a lot of the things, but it's not as if I have too much time on my hands, because I've chosen certain things to be very, very hands-on about. But those are the things that I know I can do well, and also it's not that time intensive. So I've measured it so that I think I wake up every morning very excited about the things I want to do in business. I'm very excited. Our family is a very close family, although we travel all over the place. I've got 5 grandkids I spend time with. So I actually think I'm in a very happy place right now. And I'm grateful every day for the place that I am in. And I don't take it for granted. I think that's an important point to make about anyone who's happy with the state that he or she is, that you cannot take it for granted, and you must always be grateful for it. Otherwise, terrible things can happen. Hubris can happen, and other things too.
Right.
I mean, I wanted to ask a bit about your, coming back to Singapore to serve NS, right? Because you had a reputation as a student radical, or like you were protesting war. Did your friends, or did you find it ironic that you were coming back to Singapore to join the army, having had like kind of pacifist leanings when you're in the States?
No, I wasn't a pacifist at all in the States. In fact, most of us who left university, either voluntary or otherwise, some of them, my friends who were Americans, joined the U.S. Army because the talk at that time was you got to get into the belly of the beast and slay the beast from within. Okay. And that's the kind of radical talk they had in those days.
Yeah.
So I actually came into the army, and I remember very well my first few months as a recruit, I was trying to radicalize my colleagues.
That might have been why
that didn't go down very well. But my NS experience was one of some of the best years I had. In fact, I even wanted to sign on. Can you imagine?
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my parents had to tell me, no, don't sign on, because it's not that I liked the military as such. I really enjoyed the camaraderie that was there. I felt a strong sense of camaraderie in doing things with people for a common cause, and that's actually quite strong. I mean, we in the army, we weren't there to defend Singapore, though we say we were. We were there because whether it's as a platoon or as a battalion or as a company, we were there going on exercises because of each other, right? I mean, it's known even within all militaries of the world that soldiers do not fight for God, they don't fight for country, they fight for the guy next to them. So camaraderie is critical, and I really learned the importance of camaraderie in the military, and it's something I try to build within my own company today. That camaraderie, which I guess in a corporate world would be known as corporate culture, is so critical to binding a company together.
Yeah, so you make them march around the banyan-tree resort and sing, and sing the songs.
Yes.
No doors, no.
They do. Anybody who doesn't do right, they have to do push-ups.
Buddha claps.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. I mean, like, how did you make that decision? Because I feel like so many people in your shoes would not have made the decision to come back to Singapore to serve NS.
I think if I were to again go back to that question about, because there's no point to try to extrapolate from my own situation when the situation doesn't apply at all now. I'm coming back to NS. But I need to extrapolate it because I think it deals with the question you asked about people who are suffering a sort of midlife crisis, whether they're midlife or even pre-midlife.
Quarter-life crisis.
Quarter-life crisis. Where do I want to go from here? And as you had mentioned earlier, I don't think I'm very happy in my job, and I really want to go out and do something, but the risks are too high, the courage and the risk. In my case, I didn't go into business because it was risky and so on. I think the riskiest thing I did for a personal level was making the decision to come back to Singapore, right? Okay. From a personal life point of view. If I didn't come back to Singapore, life would have been easy, pretty easy. But coming back to Singapore was a risk, not of imprisonment, not of this or that, but the risk that I was throwing away everything I knew about life and coming back to something that I could actually be highly unhappy in. I would have been stuck with 2 years or 2.5 years in those days of utter unhappiness. And then beyond that, maybe in a country which I never knew as my own, except by passport and so on. But there's a part in you, and that's why I'm saying I don't want to tell about why I decided one or the other. I can't even remember, but I just remember really well. I kept on walking around that lake all alone because school had already ended. And finally, I came to a conclusion that I felt at peace at. Now, how do you define that? I don't know. But I took a difficult decision that was risky, but I somehow felt at peace with that decision. And then I came back. And it could have worked out wrongly, but then I guess I could always go back to the US. But it turned out well. So by that same token, I think sometimes we all have risks to take in life. They're not like they're life-changing risks. They're not fatal risks. They're not financial risks, except for some if you're an entrepreneur. But sometimes you do have to take a risk and say, look, everything tells me I should do this. And then I make that decision. And once you make that decision, you live with it for a few days. And it's really true what the science books have said about sleeping. Sleeping with a problem for a while. Because your brain digests it, even when you're sleeping. And then with every day, either that decision you've made feels more and more uncomfortable, or it feels more and more right. But I think confronting that is important, rather than just letting it slip by.